You are now to be seated. All right, with that oath being taken, we'll have roll call and then we'll have a prayer. Secretary, call the roll.
Leota Sampson. Here. Anthony Conley.
Here.
Joan Narcomi.
Here.
Rena Tiger. Here. Anastasia Pittman. Terry Edwards. Nancy Bixico. Here. Ida Gonzalez. Here. Tamara Downey.
Chair. I realize that not all the way to fast lives to
Leon Petit.
Here.
Joseph Billy.
Here.
Dolores Harjo. Karen Fulbright. Here. Aaron Borba. Here. Stephanie Lambert. Here. Sina Yesla. Here. Lottie Moody. Here. Ella Coleman. Here. Shirley Watkins. Here. Wayne Shaw.
Here.
Tiffany Thomas. Here. Catherine McCoy. Here. Charlie Hill.
Here.
Tiffany Cully. Here. Danita Harjo. Here. Willis Etheridge.
Here.
Desiree Emerson. Here. I have a count of 23 present, 4 absent.
With a count of 23 present and 4 absent, I declare that a quorum has been met. This is our first council meeting as far as in person that we had since 2.5 years when COVID started. We have been pressed very harshly over the last 2.5 years. We have lost a lot of dear ones that are dear to each and every one of us, that we have persevered and we are still here and to be able to conduct the business of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. And with all those things being considered, I'm going to ask you to stand, and I'm going to ask Ms. Ella Coleman if she would open us up for this first in-person session of the General Council since the national pandemic started back in 2020.
Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessings that you have bestowed on each and every one of us, Heavenly Father, so that we could be here today in person to conduct business on behalf of the Seminole Nation. I ask for thy continuing protection for each and every one of us, city council and our leaders that are here, all the employees and all the people that are here today. I pray that thou will bless those that might not be able to be here. Heavenly Father, bless each and every one that's here, from the youngest to the oldest. Heavenly Father, I ask that thou will help us make wise decisions, use our knowledge and wisdom, Heavenly Father, as we move forward and conduct the business on behalf of the Seminole Nation, Heavenly Father. I ask that thou would comfort those who have lost their loved ones. I ask healing for those that are in the hospitals or ill at home, Heavenly Father. And I just ask that thou would be with each and every one of us and give us safe travels as we leave this time, Father. By holy name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. Reading of the minutes of the last meeting will be addressed at the next scheduled meeting. I'm going to ask for consensus of the general counsel to go out of order of the agenda or suspend the agenda. We have the Rose Rock CPA firm here, an auditing firm that's here with us this evening. And if there's no objections to it, we would desire to place them up now and address the audit 2021. Unfinished business will come. Just to count, if there's no objections to suspending the agenda in order to hear the audit first, we can put unfinished business right after that, or we can put unfinished business at the very end. What does the council desire? Put it at the end. Is there any objection to putting it at the end? Okay. There's no objection to putting unfinished business at the end of business. So there's no objection to go out of the order of the agenda. Mr. Ryan Harris is here. Mr. Harris, if you would, go ahead and stand up here towards the front. And do you need the podium? You can. Yes.
Good evening. Hello? Can you guys hear me? Okay, there we go. My name is Ryan Harris. I'm with Rose Rock CPAs. We performed the audit of September 30th, 2021. The financial statements of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma Governmental Services Department for the year ended September 30th, 2021. In our opinion, the financial statements present fairly and in accordance with the accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. For presentation purposes, the general fund, trust fund, judgment fund, BCRC, CARES, ARPA, and the highway planning and construction were considered major within the financial statements. In addition, we also performed the required governmental auditing standards, independent auditor's report, as well as the report on compliance as required by uniform guidance. Each of these reports also presented an unmodified opinion. As required by uniform guidance, the following programs were tested as major: food distribution, aid to tribal government, tribal transit, coronavirus relief, and the Child Care Development Block Grant. As part of our testing, we did note that there were findings as applicable to the major programs. Those particular findings were related to reporting. Specifically, aid to tribal government CARES, the quarterly SF 425 reports are to be submitted within 30 days at the end of the quarter. The quarters ending December 31st, 2020 and March 31st, 2021 were not submitted or received. They were later in April of 2022. In addition, tribal transportation, the annual federal financial report that is due on October 31st, 2021 was not submitted until April of 2022. That was the only finding that you guys had as far as the financial statements were concerned, or the major programs as it applied to uniform guidance. We worked well with the accounting department. We had no major issues, nor disagreements with presentation of the financial statements. Were there any questions at all about anything that you guys saw within the financial statements?
Representative Petit, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Harris, I apologize for last year when you presented this, well, last November when you presented this, I asked you some questions about some deficiencies you had noted in the report.
Yes, sir.
Well, once again, and I found it kind of odd that it was on the same page 19 again this year. Do you have the audit there handy?
I do. Can you tell me exactly what
Okay. Well, what I found kind of disturbing, and I didn't want to continue to be a pattern if needed, was under your credit risk investments, interest rate risk, and cash investments. there's a note that the department has no formal policy regarding these items.
Right, and if you'll remember when we did our presentation, it was in November of last year. Our cutoff for the year end was 9/30. So it was actually, so that is something that we also issued a management letter on in the current year, because it is a large number and it is uncollateralized, and it is kind of, if the bank should fail, it is a scary, you don't have that insurance on that $95 million that's sitting there. I've had discussions today also that has been changed subsequent to year end, and so that should go away in the next fiscal year audit, in that those funds have been broken up and then collateralized through pledging, et cetera, in the next fiscal year, so that our concerns should go away in the next fiscal year.
Okay.
But we have to note it as of the audit period, because it is a risk to the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. So it does appear in your notes, just like it appeared when we did our presentation in November of this last year.
Thank you for your comments on that. And that was something that I felt like the nation needed to address, because, you know, your numbers were over $100 million in unsecured, uncollateralized monies that the nation had. And I want to make sure that
You are exactly correct. I mean, that is dollar-wise, it is extremely significant to the financial statements of the nation. It is also the unlikely event that the bank should go under, right? Because then you would only be covered by the $250,000 in FDIC insurance, which is why there are agreements with of the other federal funds that are out there with the other banks where those monies are at, that they put up pledging should they fail. There's additional assets that back those up. Based upon discussions, something similar will happen with those ARPA funds in the upcoming fiscal year.
well, and to note also is a portion of that's already been distributed, so.
Correct.
we
That number
contradicted-
will continue to go down as it's used for the purpose of the program.
Okay, all right, you answered my question, all right, thank you.
Just another note is, when we received those funds, the ARPA funds in May of 2021, they set in one account until the September, and then we obviously passed the distribution and started the distribution, and we began to place those funds in pledged areas with larger banks. So that's just a note. Representative Dethridge, I see your hand. You have the floor.
Yes, sir. On page 12.
Yes, sir.
Your second bullet there has the date, it says, a member of the nation as it existed in Florida on September the 18th, 1923.
Yes, sir.
That actually should be 1823. I believe.
Okay, I apologize. I'll get that fixed. So I rely on some of these notes to provide me with the information because I honestly.
It's a pretty big day for the nation, so.
I completely understand. I'll get that changed. I apologize.
Okay. Also, I need for you to tell me a little bit more about on page 20. Let me just bring attention to page 25 to start with. I know during the pandemic, there were a lot of PPP loans and BCR. The last paragraph says on August the 4th, 2021, BCRC received notice of forgiveness of its full amount of $69,700 as of September the 30th, 2021. BCR has no outstanding debts. Since I am a commissioner on the BCR, I just wanted to point that out to the nation that we've done our due diligence over there, and I want to thank our executive director, Sharon Scott, for her due diligence on this page. And also on page 29. The employee retirement plan. Can you explain those numbers there?
As far as what exactly? Now, we do also perform the audit for the employment plan, but there is a separate employment plan audit. So some of the numbers are pulled from that particular audit. But what are you wanting to know about exactly? The nation's contribution, the employees' contribution.
The nation's, which is, I'm assuming the nation is the department's contribution to the 401k plan during the year ending September 30, 2021, total approximately $363,000.
Correct.
So how did you, or how did they arrive at that number?
So that number is provided to us as far as for disclosure purposes by management and the accounting department. Provided us with the documentation that showed the employees that were part of the nation that received so much from the tribe, and then their portion that they had invested as well. Now, as far as like the actual detail of the audit of those numbers would be more, that those questions would be more apt for the actual audit of the 401k plan.
That would be through the treasurer's office or
Yeah,
accounting?
that usually happens. Usually audits of 401k plans happen summertime, so they usually start about in the next month or so.
Okay, right, so I don't want names, but I want to just kind of figure out how they arrived at this 363,000.
Yeah, and I have a supporting document for what was included as far as presented to us as far as the what was paid to the 401k plans for each one of those employees.
Okay, got one more question. I think I'll address it to the executive department. I noticed this executive department that in the 2020 audit, nation's audit, we had a finding in child care, I believe it was, and we have that same finding again in 2021. So my question to the executive department is, what plan of action do you have to remedy this reoccurring finding for the child care department?
Are you speaking of a federal financial report?
I'm speaking of this report right here where it talks about the findings.
Yeah, and part of I got the corrective action plan here if you would like me to, or I can provide it to you.
Right. We do have a corrective action plan that we placed together with Rose Rock, and it's signed on the letterhead of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma with my signature on it. And it's basically that we're going to do those things. Go ahead and read it if you want to, Ryan.
Yeah, part of the issue was in the changeover in management from the previous administration to this administration. Not all the accesses that the previous administration had were immediately provided to the new administration, and so there was a breakdown in some of the reporting. You guys utilize Red Oak accounting advisors to help prepare a lot of the reporting requirements for uniform guidance, and some of those kind of fell through the cracks due to not having access to upload that information. It doesn't change the fact that they were late, and it doesn't change the fact that we have to report them as late. But going forward, it is noted within there specifically that Red Oak will be preparing those reports and that Bill Larney will be uploading them in a timely fashion. So,
one area that I think can help anytime you have a transition within an administration, I think we can strengthen the code of law with a lot more language that protects the nation and the incoming administration from those types of situations where they don't have access to portals or they don't have access immediately to the information that they need. That doesn't always happen because usually folks stay around for a month and a half, 2 months after that in the Treasury. That did not happen in this particular transition. But anyway, we will strengthen the code of law. That's where we need to do it at. It's right there. And if we do that, then exiting officers of the tribe will be required to transition in a manner and a way that allows the incoming administration to access those portals and those funds and to do the reports.
and to add on to that, not just to think about as far as the reporting and the uniform guidance requirements, but also things as day-to-day as cash and signing authority and things like that. It would be helpful to have kind of a successor plan in place to kind of transition that information over to the incoming administration.
That's true. Thank you, sir. Let's see. I saw Representative Petit first, and then it's going to be Representative Shaw. Representative Petit, you have the floor.
Again, Mr. Harrison, thank you for the report. And since Representative Deathridge had brought up the forgiveness of the PPP loans, I noticed on page 26, there was mention of the one that previous administration had secured for the nation. And I believe it was $571,000. It's listed here. And then you make a note there on which is on page 30 of note number 13, which is the subsequent event. It notes that the subsequent to the year of September 21, the department had begun the payments of approximately $81,000 principal and interest. I'll not read this all, but just to be known that this now has been forgiven and this note's been satisfied. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's based upon all the information that's provided to us. One of the discussions we were having before is public record still shows that it's a kind of long-winded as far as how this all came about, but the initial PPP loan was for about approximately $1.8 million. During last year's fiscal audit, $1.3 million of that was sent back to the bank, at which point public records should have shown $571,000. It still showed $1.8 million, even though we were provided with the support and showed it within the financial statements at $571,000. That stayed at $571,000 throughout the next fiscal year, ending 9/30/2021. Subsequent to that year end, it still had not been completely forgiven. So the nation took it upon themselves to start making payments on that debt, even though it should have been forgiven. Somewhere along the line, I believe it was in March of 2022, SBA issued a summary judgment, effectively saying that the nation should have been eligible for and forgiven $1.1 million. At which point, the bank that held the debt, the $571,000, technically forgave the $571 and issued $649,000 in addition. So those are technically PPP funds that they should have received and forgiven, which made up the $490,000 that was remaining plus the $649,000 added up to about the $1.1 million that SBA had noted. That all happened subsequent to year end. But as of 9/30, none of that had happened. So it's still showing as $571,000 in debt. In the next fiscal year, that $571,000 shown as income in forgiveness of debt, as well as the $649,000 that was received subsequent to year end, will be shown as other income in that fiscal year.
But as of today's date, that
As of today's date,
has been satisfied.
that has all been satisfied. That debt no longer exists. Now,
Thank you.
the issue is that the public record, when you go out and search for that under PPP, which anybody can do, it is still showing the nation owes $1.8 million, which is not correct. I mean, all the documentation notes that was reduced initially. It should have shown $571,000 last year, and then it should show nothing as of right now. It should be zero. So that's a clerical error that needs to be updated on the public record site. So.
I want to make a note as well is the administration. This administration met with Senator Lankford's people many times on this particular issue, and Senator Lankford, his staffers, and perhaps even made a call to SBA, and it was a matter of a few days that we got a different rendering on that. I think there was just some halt by both SBA and possibly the bank on this issue. But once that senator got involved in it, some things began to happen. There's still some questions, I think, that has taken place besides the forgiveness as far as the why wasn't it reported to SBA that way, that the money was sent back, and also those were some of the concerns, within the investigation that was going on. So, but it is good news that the audit, detects that, and that we're going to be able to come out of this, I believe, pretty good. So that's good. When Senator Lankford stays in, we don't know that he will. We think that he will. Do you see him? Tell him thank you for assisting the Seminole Nation on this particular measure.
I believe.
Okay.
There you go.
Part of it is administration. I know that we got, I keep getting the word, 88 million 88 million, that's all I keep hearing, then I hear 95 million, then I hear 100 million. I wanna know exactly, because I'm not privy to all this, just now get back on the council, I stayed out of the loop for a while, is that, how much money did we receive under ARPA and everything else that we had available? And my band has asked for expenditures on it, and the cover sheet or whatever it is, whoever the granting agency. The other question is, did you state that the nation paid so much on this where'd that money go now since it's been forgiven? Has it come back to the nation?
Well, that was another question of clarification with the bank, because the bank through Mr. Adam Baker stood right before this council and declared if indeed it was forgiven, then they would reimburse the tribe of that amount plus interest. Now, according to the auditor, he said when you put in the figures, it comes out to about that amount, but still that amount, about $81,000, somewhere around there, that we was paying payments for several months there. How the bank does things, we felt like they should have took that 81 off at the top, brought it back to the nation, and then paid their $571,000. But of course, we're not bankers. They have ways they're doing it, but then that they do it. But the auditor kind of crashed the numbers and crammed them up and said that it's coming out about right. The amount of of ARPA that came in, the first round was around 88,000. Then there was an additional amount in the formula for American Rescue Plan Act that was based on the number of employees that you have. So that was approximately $7 million. So that's where you get that terminology or that figure 95 million.
I'm gonna ask, my band asking that we get those figures in black and white. We need to give it to our information to our people, not just council or just administration.
Well, council should have those figures in black and white several times as far as the totals and the expenditures in each area of the council passage. If you don't, then ask your representatives that sat before you were sworn in here this evening.
I'll ask them, but I doubt it. And
We'll go ahead and send it back out now. Same thing.
the other question, big question is, okay, let's just say 88 million. How about the interest grown up? Were they in an interest-bearing account? And if so, where is that money going? Has it been reported to the county?
As was stated early, when we received that funds, we had a June quarterly meeting, and the principal chief at that time had stated we had not received the money, when indeed it was in a bank account, all that funds. It stayed in those funds, as you know, Wayne. You sat right here with the band chiefs and talked about it over and over again. It said May, June, July, August, and then when this administration came in, we passed the distribution, and then we started distributing portions of it.
I'm not asking about the distribution or anything. I'm asking about the interest on it. Are they in a?
It was an account that was not an interest-bearing account for 5 or 6 months. They are in sweep accounts now where we actually do get interest off of them.
Okay, now, on that right there, we all be given reports to the council.
Yeah, the treasurer will be given a report
Okay,
on what's gained off of that, on those sweep accounts.
I guess that's what I need to
Okay.
find out. I'm out here, I've been at a loss not being here all this time, but,
And
those are the
good to see you,
questions.
Wayne. I know you've gone through a lot the last
Those
week.
are the things that have come out. A lot of people are asking. I can't even go to the flea market without somebody asking me about it, so, I just thought I'd bring it out. The administration ought to know something. Let us have something on it so we know.
Thank you. Any other questions for the Mr. Harris, Rose Rock?
I can expand on the 571,000 less the 81 plus the 642 that you received ends up being 1,139,000, which is almost exactly what the SBA letter noting the forgiveness amount should be. So if you take the 571 that was in debt, you reduce that debt piece by the 81,000 that was paid back. So you only technically got $490,000 plus the 642 that you received ends up being $1,139,000, which is right in line. So if you have it, I can show you the entire workup. I've got a work paper on it. So if you would like me to do that to then present that information, I'll be glad to help you out anyway.
Yeah, I understand it. You might send that to our Attorney General because there was an investigation started on that.
Okay.
Because the amount wasn't reported that it was sent back to SBA. But anyway, we're glad that it's getting wrapped up and starting to make some sense now. Any other questions? If there's no other questions, then we're on TR 2022-69, and there are some corrections, so the motion should read what it says here, but with those corrections. Member of the Finance Committee, you want to state it in that manner, in that way?
Tribal Resolution 2022-69.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Tribal Resolution of the General Council of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma acknowledging the review of the final 2021 Seminole Nation Annual Audit Report and its submission to the governmental agencies. I'd like to make a motion to approve this resolution with a friendly amendment as far as
My mic went dead. With the correction stated by Representative Dethridge.
with the correction stated by Representative Will Stepridge. Make a motion to approve. Ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to approve, and there's a second. Okay, no other discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Leota Simpson,
Yes.
Anthony Conley, John Narcome,
Yeah.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Anastasia Pittman, Terry Edwards, Nancy Fixico,
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Tamara Downey, Leon Petit,
Yes.
Joseph Billy, Dolores Harjo, Karen Fulbright,
Yes.
Ann Borba,
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Sina Yesler,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie, Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Shirley Watkins,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw, Tiffany Thomas, Catherine McCoy, Charlie Hill, Tiffany Cully, Anita Harjo, Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerton,
Yes.
Okay, I have a count of 21 yes, 0 no, 2 abstentions.
With a count of 21 yes and 0 no, 2 abstentions, I declare TR 2022-69 with the corrections to have passed. TR 2022-70, resolution of the General Council of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma approving the appointment of Ella M. Coleman to the Seminole Nation Finance Committee. I entertain a motion to that effect. A motion by Representative Gonzalez, second by Representative Fulbright. Representative McCoy, you have the floor.
Just for clarification, if this Representative Coleman that passes, she will be resigning from the other two committees she currently sits on, correct?
Those seats will become vacant at the point of approval if that does happen.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other hands lifted, Secretary, call the roll.
Leah Sampson,
Yes.
Anthony Conley,
Yes.
John Narkemy,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Anastasia Pittman, Terry Edwards, Nancy Fixico,
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Tamara Downey, Leon Petit,
Yes.
Joseph Billy.
No.
Can you repeat that, please?
No.
Karen Fulbright,
Yes.
Ann Borba,
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Suna Yesla,
Yes.
Lottie Crudy. Can you repeat that?
No.
Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Shirley Watkins,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw, Tiffany Thomas, Catherine McCoy, Charlie Hill, Tiffany Cully, Janita Harjo,
Abstain.
Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerton,
Yes.
I have a count of 15 yes, 6 no, 2 abstentions.
With a count of 15 yes, 6 no, and 2 abstentions, I declare TR 2022-70 to have passed. And just for the note, there is her seats that was on the 2 existing boards and committees she was on is now vacant as well. So we bring in some nominations to fill those spots at the next council meeting. TR 2022-71. Ms. Fulbright, Representative Fulbright.
Yes, I would like to introduce Tribal Resolution PR 22-71. Tribal Resolution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma approving a one-time appropriation of $989,000 from the American Rescue Act Plan of 2021 funds for the acquisition of a facility for the Barking Waters We Woke a Head Start program as response to COVID-19 public health emergency. Ask for a second.
It's a motion by Representative Fulbright and seconded by Representative Borba. We're in discussion. Representative Cootie, you have the floor.
It's still wanting to get some kind of, I can't hear.
Accountability, any dollars that's coming from this ARPA, we need to get a budget formation where it says line item, so much goes to certain items and everything. And I think in finance policy, it states that this is how it's supposed to be. The budget is supposed to be made up and the money is designated to where it's going to be spent. If you're going to buy toilet paper, line item, supplies, whatever, and how much it's going to cost. So we just not have had any of that, and I requested it once before, if we could get it in
Are you
budget
talking,
form.
Ms. Representative Cootie, are you speaking on this particular resolution
No,
as far as the budget? Because there is a budget with this particular resolution. And it has been approved by the Finance Committee.
it may be so, but I mean, it's not they don't have a breakdown. There's no line items that say exactly how much, what money goes into whatever, and we're just asking for even dollar money. I've never really have anything done that come out even. So that's what the band wants, is
of the, budget that has line items that explains the dollar goes into line items.
I will say that every budget that comes out has the general ledger and line items on it, and that is also this.
Anyway, I have to make a motion to table, TR 2022-63, 71, 73, 75, and 76, and ask for second.
There's a motion to table, TR 22-71, and a second by Representative Hill. There's no debate or comments on the motion to table. Secretary, call the roll.
Is this just for 71? Because she named them all off?
No, we're doing 71. That's what we're on. That's what, there was a motion on the floor, and there was a second, and she made a motion to table there. So you're tabling what's,
71, 73, 75, 76.
you're tabling already what's already on the floor, Ms. Booty. You're tabling a motion and a second by Representative Fulbright, Representative Fuller. That's the proper procedure, is to table the item that's on the floor. So this is to table TR 2022-71, the Head Start and Martin Orders Head Start. Secretary, call the roll.
Leota Sampson?
Yes.
Anthony Conley?
Yes.
John Narcome?
No.
Rena Tiger? No. Nancy Fixico?
No.
Ida Gonzalez?
No.
Tamara Downey? Leon Petit?
Yes. Yes.
Joseph Billy? Karen Fulbright?
No.
Ann Borba?
No.
Stephanie Lambert?
No.
Sina Yesla?
No.
Lottie Cootie? Can you repeat that?
Yes.
Ella Coleman?
No.
Shirley Watkins?
No.
Wayne Shaw? Tiffany Thomas? Catherine McCoy? Charlie Hill?
Yes.
Tiffany Cully? Janita Harjo?
Yes.
Willis Dethridge?
No.
Desiree Emerton?
No.
I have a count of 11 yes, 12 no, 0 abstentions.
With a count of 11 yes and 12 no, 0 abstention, the motion to table has failed. We're back to the original motion, TR 2022-71. Representative Shaw, you have the floor.
I'm looking at this, I saw a little bit of it, approximately 5 acres. Am I correct? And that building's old as I am, and you're wanting to renovate it. We can build a new building, so what you want to renovate that one for. And those children, they go to school right there, they're off the highway right now. You're gonna put them right back on the highway. You put them kids in that building. I realize that our Head Start building being dilapidated, we had right mold and everything else in there. But, I don't know if it'd be safer to have them school there or put them out in the street, just about like that old gym used to be. We don't even know how much it's gonna cost us for that place. You haven't got any estimates on how much the land is gonna cost, how much that building is gonna cost to renovate it. You have no bids. And I don't understand our finance committee not requiring some of this stuff. So I just want to make that comment that, what's happening, y'all put those kids in there now. So you're looking at a dilapidated building, almost old as I am. That's old. And, so have any of you really gone in there and looked at it? Or have you taken somebody's word on it? I can make anybody shine. Although they're tarnished. So I'm telling you now, y'all need to get your heads on your shoulders and start thinking correctly for the people. Don't think for yourself or for our administration. You're elected to sit here and work for our people. Let's work for our people. Line item budget, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We've had breakdowns. Okay, we're going to buy windows, we're going to buy doors, we're going to do this, and it's going to cost approximately this much. It might go over a little bit or a little under. I can understand that, but we're not getting that. I want, what is it, 600 and something thousand, or 800 something $1,000, period, to buy land. And there ain't no land in Wewoka or Seminole County worth as much as we're going to pay for that right there. So I want y'all to be thinking about that when you go to your next vote.
One thing, you made a comment that you could build new for the price that's presented in the proposed resolution, and that's not correct. You cannot build new for the price that's represented, and that price is not just for the building. You have renovation in there. You have the additional 5 acres. We do not have a designated site for the new childcare. As soon as Conowall breaks ground, we're going to do the Wewoka one simultaneously, which is going to be proposed to be right here at this site. As far as the highway concern is, they might make for a good debate, but I think that debate fails because of this. That's a 4-lane highway. I'm not debating it. I'm commenting on your comments. Yes, the chair.
Point of order.
Actually, Title 16 does say that the chair can make comments
Point
on
of
any
order.
of the. Assistant Chief.
I do want to point out a couple of things with the Wewoka facility. Currently, they have early Head Start and then Head Start separated by age. Currently, each age group has about a waiting list of 15 individuals, and it's been that way for about the last 5 years. So we're looking at a minimum of 30 children that are on a waiting list to attend this facility. And there's no way that we can get that floor plan any larger to accommodate in accordance with DHS guidelines. So that's one thing that we're not able to do for our children right now for Wewoka is provide that early Head Start and Head Start support, which is going to give them that leg up when they go into public school. So when I sat down to visit with each of the facilities, sat down with that center supervisor, that's one area that they expounded on is the fact that they continually, historically have a waiting list and they cannot do anything about it for that location. And it's simply because of the size of the facility. And as Representative Shaw stated, there is historically issues with air quality in that facility as well. And there's nothing we can do to renovate that short of tearing the facility down. To comment on the cost of the building, right now the average cost is between $200 and $300 a square foot for new construction. When you're looking at an 11,000 square foot building, it's basic math, but that is a lot more than what we're proposing to gain 5 acres of highway frontage, as well as a facility that we can meet and exceed the future needs of our Head Start program.
Representative Borba, you have the floor.
Yes, I would like to say that a lot of council members say they are for the children. I drove by that building today. It is a large building. And I think this, and compared to where they are now, would be a much, much better place for them. There's land to build. There's room to add on. The report that I got from Barking Water EHS classroom, there's mold. There's a wooden air supply duct. It's the damage in several ceiling tiles. There's mold. And I think this is something that we can do for our children. And I hope that this passes.
Any other discussion? Representative Narcomi, you have the floor.
I agree with all fellow representatives here on certain points. I did go by the Bikini Salon. It is an old building. I would have preferred to see more information as to what steps will be taken to renovate it and what the end picture is going to be. I mean, you and I have had this discussion before that your budgets are lacking in meat. You, you handed us budgets that state for supplies, necessary equipment to complete task. Well, what does that mean? I myself have gotten onto my previous chiefs for this issue, and I'll carry that on because it's a trait that I don't like to see. When we see budgets, we as the council we're tasked with answering questions as to what does all this mean, and if all we get is a simple sentence that says necessary equipment to complete task, we can't answer that question. So on that level, I do agree that these budgets do need to be expounded upon more. But as far as the building itself, it is old. It does need renovation. I do agree to that. And as Representative Borba said, the overall purpose is to help the children. And I think any motion to that effect is a good motion. So, but otherwise, just my general statement that we've got to see more details, Chairman.
Representative Fulbright, did you have your hand up?
Yes.
Okay, you have the floor.
Well, my comment is we as council get an agenda. And our duty is to read that agenda. If you don't understand it and you need more information, you have time to get it. If you fail to do that, then you fail the people because you're not doing your job. Like you said, Wayne, you're here for the people. Well, do your homework.
Representative Fulbright.
I understand.
Representative Fulbright, do
yes.
not address another
I
representative.
understand. I'm just answering his question. But I'm just saying, we have a duty to take care of business for the nation. If you don't have your information, request it. We have our council secretary here available for us whenever. I mean, I think you're available for us at all, 24/7 pretty much.
Representative Fulbright, keep with what's germane to the item that's has a motion and a second.
I am trying to. But what the statement's being made is they're not getting their information and you're not submitting it to us. And I'm saying we as council can get that if we wanted to. But if we're not, then we want to sit here on the floor and point a finger that you're not getting things to us when we have a responsibility to do that. That's it.
I understand from all points of view from each and every one, each representative. But the children are in need. It will meet a need, and it will put the early childhood development as well in a good position to have a nice location to build. And each and every one of us, some of us that's been around a while, know that back in the 90s and early 2000 when different areas were proposed for Head Starts. This Head Start's a lot older. My 31-year-old son went to this Head Start as well. That's sitting there right now. That was supposed to only be a temporary building, but it became a permanent structure for many, many years now. But your chiefs would never propose something that would be detrimental to you as a member. Your chiefs would never propose something that would be detrimental to the elders. Your chiefs would never propose something that would be detrimental to the young ones. And I would like to think that y'all would at least have that thought of us as leaders as well. And I do respect each and everyone's statements tonight. So if there's no other questions, TR 2022-71. Secretary?
Leah Sampson,
No.
Anthony Conley,
No.
John Narcome,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Nancy Fixico,
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Leon Petit,
No.
Joseph Billy, Karen Fulbright,
Yes.
Ann Borba, Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Sina Yesla,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie, Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Shirley Watkins,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw, Tiffany Thomas, Catherine McCoy, Charlie Hill, Tiffany Cully, Janita Harjo, Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerton,
Yes.
I would count 13 yes, 8 no, 2 abstentions.
With a count of 13 yes and 8 no and 2 abstentions, I declare TR 2022-71 to have passed. TR 2022-72, Representative Dethridge.
Chair, this travel resolution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma approving pay scale clarification for the General Counsel Secretary, modification to the FY 22 General Counsel budget and the FY 22 comprehensive budget. Ask for a second.
Second.
A motion to approve by Representative Dethridge. There was a second by Representative Gonzalez. Representative Coleman, I see your hand. You are acknowledged and you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I would like to make a friendly amendment to this particular tribal resolution, correcting the pay scale. The pay scale that, including the 6% COLA raise, reflected $18.90 an hour. And the pay scale closest to that hourly rate is for a 9 step 4. It's $19.22 an hour. And with the 1978 an hour, one has skipped that, has gone from a step 4 to a step 5. So procedurally, I believe that 1922 is the correct hourly amount. That is the closest to the $18.90. It does not go below the $18.90, and that's in accordance with the pay scale.
Yes, and the Finance Committee did address it to that same scale which you just talked about. And if the sponsors of this legislation accept that as a friendly amendment,
Chair, before I say yes, I had visited with Ms. Alexander, the previous Finance Committee chairperson, about giving the General Counsel Secretary a raise. I know that everybody in the nation received a 6% raise. So that really didn't mean a whole bunch. I think that the lady deserved a 10% raise, and that's what I told the previous Finance Committee chairperson. And she done the math, and she said that scale would be grade 9, step 5. I said, sounds like a winner to me. Because I was trying to give the lady a 10%, not me, but she deserved 10% as far as I was concerned. Then Ms. Coleman called me and she said, you can't jump a couple of scales. The closest scale that comes to what she has would be grade 9, step 4. I reluctantly agreed to that, but I'm going to just tell you, I think our General Counsel Secretary deserves more than a 1.7% raise, and that's what she's getting, even though everybody got a 6% raise. I think she's worth more than 1.7, but I will accept her friendly amendment. Just to stay in line, also, I want to make certain that the Finance Committee stays on top of this whole situation where we're not giving raises and they're jumping 3 and 4 and 5 scales, because that has happened in the past. And I hope this Finance Committee says, hey, we're going to put a stop to that. So that's where I'm at. So, yes, I'll accept that friendly amendment.
One thing, Representative Etheridge, is that the finance scale and wages had to be corrected because it was incorrect the last 4 years. So now it is right, and it is correct.
Is
Now,
it
one
okay-
thing.
Is it okay if I make a comment?
I want to
Or
say
you-
this as well.
Let me say.
Yes, you can make a comment. I want to say this as well. The council secretary is an officer of the Seminole Nation. I realize there's some debate on whether that's so or not. I think Article 8 of the Constitution spells out the duties when it mentions as an officer. I do believe that the council can determine the salary of the council secretary. I do believe that as well. I do know that there are governing laws in Title 11 with scales and wages as well. So the council has the ability and authority to do what they want and so desire, as far as the officer's salary concerned. Chief Farmer and myself did not take a wage increase of 6% when it was passed a while back, and because we know that the council makes that determination as well, on what we would receive as officers of the tribe. Secretary,
Okay.
you wanted to say something?
Yes, I was going to send an email out to everyone about that because the chief did inform me about the finance committee and their suggestion or recommendation. Previously, the council secretary's salary has always been set by the council by resolution. And it's never coincided with a pay rate of the Seminole Nation. It's always been set however the council sets it. So when I started, I got started here September 18th of 2018, and the pay rate at that time was $17.83. And prior to that secretary before me, she's the one she came into her position at another secretary's rate, which was $35,000 a year, and that was by resolution, and it was in Title 11 at that time. And later on, they amended the title and took out the actual salaries of the chiefs and the secretary, and just put it in there as general counsel approval. So I just wanted to let y'all know that from 2007 to 2012, that pay rate has been $35,000. And then in 2012, for that fiscal year 13, it was up to $17.83. And that's when I came in later in 2018. I just picked up whatever was already set. So I just wanted to point that out. I didn't want to email everyone and whatever, but I just wanted to let y'all know that's the history of it that I researched, and it's never been set by any pay scale previously. So I know they want to set it at the pay scale right now, but that's up to y'all. And if you don't want to change it, that's fine too. So either way, I'll be here for y'all.
Representative Hill?
Hello. It was well said there, Valentina. First of all, I agree with Mr. Jeffers pertaining to position, et cetera, and also your research that you did, okay? I'm gonna be blunt with y'all, okay? I think that you deserve 10%, which is nothing compared to 19 something or whatever. You yourself, as a council secretary, worked for the 28 council representatives that we have in the nation. You deserve it, you rate it, you're there. You've got a lot to handle, okay? And those that are sitting here might not believe me, but you look around at all the directors that we have in Seminole Nation that are overly paid, not qualified. Half the time, they're not even at work. You're there all the time, okay? So therefore, instead of having a friendly amendment under Title 11, we could go ahead and vote on you, let you have the 10%, so be it.
Right now, there's a motion, a second. It was a friendly amendment, and the friendly amendment was accepted by the original sponsor. So that is what's on the floor at this time. Representative Dethridge, you call for question?
Leota Sampson,
Yes.
Anthony Conley,
Yes.
John Narkemy,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Nancy Fixico,
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Leon Petit,
Yes.
Joseph Billy, Karen Fulbright, Ann Borba, Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Zena Yesla,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie, Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Charlie Watkins,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw, Tiffany Thomas, Catherine McCoy, Charlie Hill, Tiffany Cully, Danita Harjo, Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerton,
Yes.
have a count of 21 yes, 2 no, 0 abstentions.
With a count of 21 yes and 2 no and 0 abstentions, I declare TR 2022-72 as amended has passed, as amended. Representative Petit, you have the floor.
I just want some clarification on it. That is $19.02 an hour.
22.
How much?
22.
Okay.
1922. TR 2022-73, a tribal resolution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma approving a one-time appropriation of $600,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 funds for the purpose of relocating the General Council House at the Miccosukee Mission in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Entertain a motion to that effect. Motion to approve by Representative Gonzalez. There's a second by Representative Fulbright. We're in discussion. Representative Shaw, you're recognized and you have the floor.
Y'all are talking about, have y'all as a council approved this move down there to that dialysis center? Hearing none, this is a mute question then. Because you can't renovate something that hadn't been approved by this general council. It was in my rundown.
The language is in this particular resolution.
You want to renovate that building, go to the general council down there. And it doesn't say any more than that. You never had permission to move down there, go renovate.
I'll read that again, Mr. Shaw, and I'll read it in the way that it is written. It says a tribal resolution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma approving a one-time appropriation of $600,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 funds for the purpose of relocating the General Council House at the Miccosukee Mission in response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Still backwards. They're still trying to move before it's renovated at the same time. Need to ask permission from the general council if they want to move.
That's what's before you.
No, it's not before me. What you're saying is you want money to renovate that, relocate. You're not saying, council, do you want to relocate down there? If we do, then we need this amount of money. Here's what we want to do. That place down there was built for dialysis. It's from all the way through our water system, everything set up for dialysis. What happened 2 years from now, 3 years after we all get off, somebody else comes on, we want to use the old dialysis. We'll have to go another place on. So I'm just repeating what's being said out there. But you just can't just say, I want money to renovate it, and I want to move y'all. None of you have approved to move. So therefore, what's he going to renovate for? You know, because you haven't made a decision to do anything yet. Better make up your mind if you want to move. If you want to move, that should be on a different resolution. These are two different resolutions. One to move the council down there, and the other is to renovate the building when the council does go down. So y'all better think about that pretty close. That's not my thinking. That's not my band thinking too.
But the place is totally gutted at this point. And when it was a dialysis center,
We all went back to what happened in that. I don't even want to bring that up, you know, why it happened and why it went under, because that would be an all-night discussion. Chief Palmer?
So there's a couple thoughts of relocating and then renovating. We all can see that the current general council house is too small for us to meet in the new normal, which is why we are here in the gymnasium. This location itself really isn't that conducive to us continuing to meet here. So there's a couple points I want to make. One is the safety of the facility. There's no way to put any kind of safety provisions in that facility. I'm talking metal detectors, secure locks, things that are going to allow us to meet safely. Even in this facility, if you look at the other facility, our entire tribal government could easily be wiped out with one gunman walking in. There's no way that we can put in any kind of safety provisions for that. Currently, we are holding court there. Last week, after a court hearing, guns were drawn in the parking lot. We do not know if those guns were in the courthouse / our council house. So when we look at these things that are occurring in close proximity to our head starts, we have to, as a nation, respond to the new normal that we live in. Gun violence is real. When we look at the configuration of the dialysis center, you have a controlled entryway. From there, it is easily to see that we can renovate, add in safety measures that will allow us to be safe. I had comments from council representatives saying, well, how am I going to bring my own gun in? Point there is that council feels like they need to arm themselves to come and do their job. I really don't know what other comments I can make to explain this to a level that It is needed for space, it is needed for safety, it is needed for us to be able to move forward, to continue to do what we need to do for our nation. And it is allowable under ARPA for the safety measures.
Representative McCoy, you have the floor.
Hello. Just real quick, am I allowed to ask you a question as Assistant Chief? Let me just go back real quick here. In the Constitution, it says that the Assistant Chief shall assist the Chief when called on to do so. Have you been called on by the Chief to be involved in all of, not just this particular project, but other projects as you've been giving us updates? I just wanted to confirm that ahead of time. All these things you've been touching and researching and meeting, you've been instructed by the Chief to do so, correct?
That's correct, and I'm also the point of contact with our ARPA consultant.
Because the Chief has delegated you so? I mean, instructed per the Constitution, because you're not supposed to do anything unless you are delegated
That's correct.
by him. Okay. So with that being said, on this potential renovation or move or whatever, did you visit with any of the council representatives here in this room to kind of get their input on what it would look like, how it should be set up, spread out, seating, anything? Was anything taken into account since this is going to be our location where we potentially will meet and move over? Have any of us been consulted in this at all? Because I know I haven't.
So once we have an appropriation, that will allow us to have the funds to form A&E so that we can ask for input. No need to really reinvent the wheel as far as courtroom / council house. But yes, once we have the appropriation and we have the funding so that we can approach architectures, get the A&E, get the floor plans designed to meet the requirements of the new normal for enhanced social distancing and congregate settings, to be able to have those safety measures in place. Once this approves, then we can move forward with those aspects that we just.
So we will share that building with tribal courts
If needed.
if needed. What will happen to our current house, our location? Is that being renovated for something else
That would be determined by the general counsel.
Okay, is there a reason we have to share with tribal courts? Can we not have our own facility that's just nothing but the legislative body and our secretary is in that location and it's just like the legislative building? Is there a need or reason, a cost share or anything we have to share with another agency or department?
Until now.
That would just be space, but there again, with the existing council house that could be renovated, with council's desire. I do believe by code or constitution, she is to be housed at the complex. So that would have to be something that's addressed as well.
Do you happen to know where that is? Because I don't know. I didn't know that she has to be at the complex.
I believe it says there'll be an office provided there.
Valentina, do you know that? If you are supposed to be housed at the
Yes,
complex?
it's in Title 16 under General Counsel, Secretary.
That you're supposed to be
I'm
housed at the
supposed to be
complex?
there, but all it would take is an ordinance change
Okay.
for me to, if y'all wanted me to move to another building.
Okay. Widow.
And to answer your question, yes, the courts and the council has shared the same facility simply because of that's the way it has been, and lack of capital to be able to make a difference in doing that. You have an opportunity tonight to change that. Representative Shaw?
They want to move. Those are two separate resolutions. One of them asking for money. The other is, y'all want to move down there.
I suppose if the council does not want to relocate the council house, this measure is going to fail.
Second one, two resolutions.
If this motion was to fail, then we'd still have to keep trying to improve the facilities. I'm not paranoid. Okay, no other further questions or discussion on this measure? TR 2022-73. Secretary, call the roll.
Leetta Sampson,
Yes.
Anthony Conley,
Yes.
John Narkemy,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Nancy Fixico, Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Leon Petit,
No.
Joseph Billy, Karen Fulbright,
Yes.
Ann Borba,
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Sina Yesla,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie. Can you repeat that? Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Shirley Watkins,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw, Tiffany Thomas, Catherine McCoy,
No.
Charlie Hill,
No.
Tiffany Cully,
Abstain.
Danita Harjo,
Abstain.
Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerton,
Yes.
I have a count of 14 yes, 7 no, 2 abstentions.
With a count of 14 yes and 7 no and 2 abstentions, I declare TR 2022-73 to have passed. Just a little note, that's totally stripped out over there and gutted, and that never came across this council floor. The I-40, that was changed totally, retail space was changed to office space. That was never brought to this council floor. This administration brings it to the council floor and you make the decision. So I declare that as already stated to have passed. TR 2022-74, a tribal resolution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma approving the Intergovernmental Cooperative Detention Facility Agreement by and between the Pottawatomie County Public Safety Center, Jail Services, and Seminole Nation Light Horse. Tribal courts is introducing that. I entertain a motion to that effect. Is that a motion? Motion by Representative Fulbright. Is there a second? There's a second by Representative Gonzalez. Chief, would you come down to the floor in case they have some discussion? Chief of the Light Horse, Mr. Chris Coker. Any questions?
Do we have case management for the guys that we have in Seminole County?
One of the things about this particular one is there was agreement by the tribal council to also contract with Seminole County, and as long as it's 15 or below, it's a certain price, and if it goes up above that count, it's more, and that's one of the reasons is having another alternative in case the facility's probably just as nice, if not better. But I'll let Chief Coker talk on the matter.
That's all the way around. Do we have case management for the ones that we have currently down there? Does anybody go down there and check on them? Do we have somebody going down there and make sure we pay $65 for a mattress on the floor or an inmate on the floor with just a blanket? Is anybody checking that?
Yes, Representative Shaw, yeah, we do check and we have paper to prove that. And for Seminole County, you're stating? Yeah.
Not any other contract. We have no case management. I would get more for it out of I had to pay on the floor because I wasn't big enough to fight that. They want more than police to come in and them. Put it on front. Y'all are paying for a box and I'm putting on the floor. So, that's stuff I get.
I agree. That we do get complaints on that. We do. the answer we get, that they are short-staffed. And that
I worked in law enforcement for years, and always been around case management, with that sort of- I'm not the crime or anything like this, but inmates are people just like, I could have been there. Every one of us, those of them, driving down the road, could have run into somebody, kill somebody, be in there. You don't have nobody to look out for you. And that's where it is right now. And in Seminole County, they don't take care of our people, they need to hire somebody full time. The case man, go in there, and they won't wait till now. Anybody in there but live for to go check on them inmates. And
well, the jailers, they have checked on them from time to time. I mean, I don't have control of the jailers or the staff over there. I know there have been complaints.
what are we doing about it?
This is why we're here now. This is why we're talking with Park County.
Get another facility to house them. You're not gonna be there protecting. Your own brother, your own father, your own mother.
Well, that's what we toured the facility. It's a nice facility. It's clean, the mountain, they're full staff. Park County, they won awards. It's more of a correction. It's not, they don't have little boys running the jail and then 18-year-old. They have grown adults that are clean certified police officers running Park County jail. So that's why we are looking at that. That's why we bring these two. We are concerned.
That we'd be allowed to go in there. Somebody sent my administration, go in there, check what they do, or anytime, check on the inmates, check on them. Because I've heard this from one of your own officers, you know, on the week, but I heard it, I said, well, can we go check on them? They got still in it. Under the dirt act, and under federal law, we're supposed to be done and stuff, so. I'm just bringing it in, I think it should be something written in that contract so we have access. I said we, I'm not talking about me or anybody on this council, I'm talking about our administration should be able to somebody in that jail to check it out.
That's duly noted. Representative.
So I have a question. Well, first one, it is consenting to single county. Why is it when we get the tribal members in that bill, why are we sitting there for days and weeks on for a public talk or something that is just so petty? Why is tribal court always having to delay stuff, delay stuff? I've heard so many more stories with relatives, personal friends of mine, anything. Why is tribal court delaying our people in that jail?
I'm in total agreement with you, and I can't answer for the top board of why they're in there. We're public thoughts for a week or 10 days, whatever it may be. I agree. We want them in, and it costs us a lot of money as well.
A lot of them are not getting out. Not a lot of them are getting late. Not a lot of them are getting deodorant, any kind of hygiene products.
Yeah,
That's not going to say.
last month we actually bought 1,000 blankets for the Seminole County Jail. Because they're out of money. Plain simple. So in our own budget, we bought blankets for them over there. So we don't care what's going on over there. Once again, it's not our facility. This is why we bring this to you guys, Park County.
We need someone in there to check on them. Whether there are tribal members or we are not, we still need to have someone advocate for that.
Sure.
My second question is entertainment to platform. Do we have a set rate? Is it the same $55 a day we're giving to Seminole County, or is it a different? Are we doing by package here? What's our?
It's $60 a day. What's that?
Representative.
Yeah, so on the Seminole County side, it's $50 after for 15 beds. Anything over 15 beds, it jumps up to $65.
Representative Etheridge.
You go over, I apologize for messing up the 15 minutes of visited here. I wouldn't gone for it, nevertheless. I spoke with the Tuscarora man had the same concerns that the Market man has. And in doing some research on this piece of legislation, I visited with Chief Prosecutor Jim Brown, and I made mention that we need a liaison, a full-time liaison. He said he would visit with the tribal court, Lenny Stewart, and he realized that there will be an additional employee and have to be a budget modification, this or that. And he said, hey, it sounds like something that we need to do. So they're going to be some follow-up on that. It's just, so just let Mr. Shaw know, it's not falling on deaf ears. It's in the works, so just let y'all know.
I appreciate that. And another reason why we're waiting to do with Paul County, the other River tribes, they are reaching out as well. They only take so many contracts over there.
Any other discussion? Representative Fulbright?
Yes, how many of these agreements do we have with different jails? Is it the Seminole? No.
We have three, Oklahoma, well, three, if you guys pass the Pot County one. Oklahoma, Seminole County, we have agreements with.
Okay. If there's an incident in the jail, because we had one in Pot County here a while back where a tribal member was killed, and there's still not any answers on that particular issue. Do they inform you guys if something happens to one of our tribal members? And how do they know they're tribal members? Are they asked this question when they're incarcerated?
Well, yeah, you have to get jurisdiction established. So they will be asked, if you're a live horse, if you're arresting a live horse, you're probably going to be a tribal member.
Okay.
What was the other question you had?
Do you get an incident report or anything if something, let's say one of our tribal members died, like some of the guys die in jail?
Yeah.
Do you hear about that?
Yeah, we will hear, well, we've not dealt with any of our inmates dying or anything like that. But yes, we do hear of like a cut or some kind of maiming or anything like that. We do hear about.
If they fall sick in there and need to go to the hospital, and are you?
I have a hard time being anxious since I'm not sure. To tell you the truth, I don't know because I'm not there, and that's an issue.
Did you have something, Tom?
So one thing that I found post McGirt with IHS, they were able to amend their policies because under their policy they could not provide medical care to inmates that were in state custody because the state was supposed to supply that. So that's one thing that we were able to establish with our local IHS, and they actually took that even higher up to look and see if there was any other facilities that hadn't updated their policies as well. So that's one thing that now they can. There's still issues with if they don't have an established chart, they can still provide one complimentary visit, but if they have an established chart, it's a lot easier. Most of them that are incarcerated don't have what they need to establish a chart, so that's something, that really we can't assist them with. But it's at least in the works. There are provisions that are now in place for that. So I wanted to clarify for the medical care on that. The other thing we look at is Seminole County is in Creek Nation jurisdiction. Creek Nation has failed to prosecute any crimes that are committed while at that facility. It's caused frustration in Seminole County and our relationship and with Creek Nation. There's nothing we can do if there's a crime that's committed on Creek Nation territory unless they will prosecute. That's something, again, that Tim Brown is working on to remedy. If we look at Pot County, it is not the McGirt area. So that makes it a lot easier for us to be able to handle incidents that happen in the jail.
Okay.
if the council passes and you guys deem this fit, maybe you guys could, I'm sure you guys would want to come over and tour the Polk County Safety Center. I'll be willing to do that with you guys, make y'all more comfortable.
And I guess, one of the comments was, they're sitting in there for so long. Is it due to the McGirt that the cases are just, they double, triple? The courts are getting bombarded?
It's busy.
I was going to say, it has to be.
It's busy. There's no excuse for someone sitting with the public in talks for several weeks.
But not, that's not all of them, though.
Yeah, it's a transition, but, even though they were arrested, they're human beings.
Right.
And they need to have a swift, so as swift as possible to appear in front of a judge.
And maybe we need more judges or something.
Representative Watkins. Representative Watkins.
I just need clarification on your medical. It says the Seminole Nation shall be responsible for transporting the inmate to medical care. Let's say if they're in the jail, so if they need medical care, so would you take them from there to IHS in Wewoka?
No, if it's an emergency, they will go to Shawnee.
Shawnee?
Yes.
So there's several clinics around that area, so it's going to take them to
They use St. Anthony's.
St. Anthony's.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on this item?
Yes. We can either transport or they will do it, I believe, at $40 an hour. Go transport and sit on the inmate.
If we get to the hospital, somebody has to ship us on the set. And do we want to pay them $1 an hour to ship with them, or do we? At great rate. There's a lot to consider, but I would like to make that really amendment that we have access to the facility through our administration. So we can have, maybe hire somebody, thought harder than what we're doing and look at it. Because I'm like, where I hear a lot of horror stories.
Nico, can we have him speak in the microphone so everybody can hear him, please?
I'm finished now. But no, what it was that I was asking that we give permission, or in that, what do you call it, agreement, that we be allowed at least someone, employee or somebody of this nation, to go in there and check them out. Yeah, I think IHS has one that goes to psychiatrist that goes to these different hospitals and everywhere else. So I don't see why they couldn't go up there and check them out at the county jail. That's all. I was just asking, maybe we can get a friendly amendment to that if we can get it. If not, I'd like to negotiate as close to that as we can.
Representative Fulbright, you accept that with the amendment to the agreement?
I will not, and the reason being is there's not a budget attached to it or anything to say who's going to pay them or a hiring process or anything like that attached to it. And the resolution, it is what it is. It's an agreement.
I think what Representative Shaw was asking, if in the agreement we could have the permission or the access to the facility. Someone through the administration or delegated by the administration. Is that what your friendly amendment was, as I understood it?
But you wanted to hire somebody. You said you wanted to hire somebody, but
Yeah,
you didn't have a attached budget with it.
let's keep it germane to the question, okay? And I'm just clarifying as the chair what Representative Shaw's
I'm
amendment.
not gonna accept it.
Chief Palmer wants to say something.
Do want to make a comment. Received a letter today from the Department of Interior. 62 million has been allocated uh, due to the McGirt decision. So next month, talks will be held with the Department of Interior. So they are funneling money to address these areas. So depending on how much we receive, based on the methodology, we will be able to hopefully hire some more positions. It is stipulated that it will be court, law enforcement, and administrative uh, positions. So that will help alleviate some of that strain on our current light horse and their limited manpower. So
We can bring up those items when in fact those methodologies are settled with what the formula will be per each tribe. And we're going to ask for the Interior to consider, the Assistant Secretary of Interior to consider the economic depravity of certain areas as well. What happened in the ARPA fund was it was just certified your certified enrollment and then your a number of employees. So you get a small tribe with small employees, amount of employees. You didn't get hardly anything in ARPA. And in this meeting, we will be bringing some of those points up as well. Representative Borba?
Yes, it was brought up at our last band meeting. I have just a question. Have the 5 tribes thought about building a detention center for our Native inmates? And is that something that
No,
may be possible?
the 5 tribes and all the conversations that I've heard has not thought of that.
Okay.
I mean, they discussed it, but it's not at this time anyway,
Okay. But
as of right now. Representative Shaw, executive, will go ahead and talk. If this does pass, talk with the leadership over there to try to have access to the facility for such things. So we can do that in a government to government.
Friendly amendment to that, I don't see what it's thinking about. Gotta look out for your own people.
We don't, the only thing, one thing is you can put that in there, but you don't know that adjustment on that agreement will be changed by the other party.
Discuss the agreement with them. Negotiate. That's the point of negotiation, what I'm at.
Hmm.
I'm not asking you to go out here and say, well, I got $1 million in my pocket, that's what you do. Not asking for any money whatsoever. I'm just asking for us to look out for our own people.
Okay, what Representative Shaw is asking, since the friendly amendment was declined by the sponsors, then he makes a motion to take the friendly amendment to a vote, and that's where it stands right now. And there's a second, so that's we're voting on the amendment. Okay, and let's clarify this amendment very clearly. I believe he's want it to be in there that we can negotiate to be able to have someone come over there into the facilities at normal business hours. I would say, or during operating hours of the facility, and to be able to have access to that. Is that clear enough? Okay. Okay, so we're voting on the amendment, not the actual resolution at this point, okay? We're voting on that amendment. And it's not a friendly amendment no more. It's an amendment. Representative Narkamy, you have the floor.
If this amendment passes, then I ask for a legal opinion. Does it not, in effect,
make this agreement null and void because we would have to take it back and renegotiate.
Well, it would be a different agreement for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This resolution itself.
Well, it'd be a different agreement.
Right.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't be, well, let me ask this, has Potawatomi agreed to this, to the current, will they sign the,
That's their standard agreement they sent out for anyone doing.
so if we're amending the agreement,
But you might ask the Attorney General
Yeah.
that question.
we would have to take the agreement back to them for renegotiation.
Yes, as it currently stands, what's being presented has already been approved. So
If we change it,
if we change it,
then
then,
this resolution becomes kind of null.
and I think I understand the motion to amend is to enter into negotiations regarding this particular request. Now, my clarification I would need to answer all questions is if that amendment is added, is that simply negotiating? And if that negotiation fails, does the general counsel still ratify the current amendment or the current contract as it is if the negotiations fail, or would that be invited back to the council for approval?
I got it on that working. You're an attorney, you negotiate deals. All right, if one deal doesn't work, you go on to the next. There's nothing wrong with asking. That's really what you're doing, is asking. And if they agree to it, fine. If not, fine too. But we need, but both of them are gonna have to pass. For my request has to pass in order for us to even negotiate. And then if it doesn't pass, so be it. But if it does pass, then that's a negotiating point on ours. It doesn't null and void anything because they don't like it. I don't like it. I don't either, but that's the way it's gotta be sometimes.
All right. Does everyone understand that we're voting on the amendment itself, not the actual motion that was on the floor and that was on the agenda? We're voting on the amendment. And that's a clarification from the chairman. Okay, Representative Borba, then Representative Dethridge.
Now, if a person goes to visit that jail, would they have to be subjected to the standard search to enter that premises?
I have no idea.
Yeah, so that's my understanding. Yeah, you'll be searched.
I won't take my gun with me. Gayla. I'm just teasing. So we're voting on the amendment. There was a motion for the amendment by Representative Saul, and it was seconded by Representative Hill, and that's where we're at. Representative Dethridge, did you have something else to add?
Other than still being confused by all the razzle dazzle. I understand this, I think, is that if we vote on this and this amendment fails, we're going to still go right back and vote on the regular.
That's correct.
73.
That is
and
correct.
if it passes and we go to Potawatomi County and they say, I don't like that part, we're still going to say, okay. Is that what he said? What I think he told the AG. So that's where I'm at. If this passes here and they don't like it there, are we still going to agree to this agreement with Potawatomi County? Wayne said, why not? Guess so.
Attorney?
Yes. So my understanding is going to be, it's more of a directive in your amendment that we enter into negotiations for that additional clause, if the amendment passes. If the amendment doesn't pass, we simply go back and vote on the motion for the original. Now, if the amendment does pass and the original motion also passes, we go into negotiations. If those negotiations are successful, that will negate the original motion to approve this because it'll be a new contract, so it'll have to come back to GC on the next meeting. If the negotiations fail, then we won't have to come back. We'll just enter into the current contract. This is a bit of a domino effect. I apologize.
It's just saying procedure-wise. And why don't you just direct the chief and the assistant chief at times to go check over there at those centers? It'd be just as good, and we would do it. We're going to do it anyway now that the concerns are there. And we meet with the commissioners, at least on this side, on a regular basis. But anyway, we have a motion and a second. Vote accordingly, okay? You heard what the AG had mentioned, so there's that amendment. Secretary, call the roll.
Leota Sampson? No. Anthony Conley?
No.
John Narcome?
No. No.
Rena Tiger? No. Nancy Fixico?
No.
Ida Gonzalez?
No.
Leon Petit?
Yes.
Joseph Billy?
Yes.
Karen Fulbright? Ann Borba? No. Stephanie Lambert? No. No. Tina Yesla?
No.
Lottie Cootie? No. Ella Coleman?
No.
Shirley Watkins?
No.
Wayne Shaw?
Yeah.
Tiffany Thomas? Catherine McCoy? Charlie Hill? Tiffany Cully? Danita Harjo? Willis Dethridge?
No.
Desiree Emerton? No. I have a count of 9 yes, 14 no, 0 abstentions.
Okay, with a count of 9 yes, 14 no, and 0 abstentions, that amendment fails. We're back to the original resolution, TR 2022-74. Secretary, call the roll.
Leota Simpson?
Yes.
Anthony Conley?
Yes.
John Narcome?
Yes.
Rena Tiger?
Yes.
Nancy Fixico?
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez?
Yes.
Leon Petit?
Yes.
Joseph Billy? Karen Fulbright?
Yes.
Ann Borba?
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert?
Yes.
Tina Yesla?
Yes.
Lottie Cootie? Can you repeat that?
Yes.
Ella Coleman?
Yes.
Shirley Watkins?
Yes.
Wayne Shaw?
Yes.
Tiffany Thomas? Catherine McCoy? Charlie Hill? Tiffany Cully? Danita Harjo? Willis Dethridge?
Yes.
Desiree Emerton?
Yes.
Okay, I have a count of 21 yes, 0 no, 2 abstentions.
With a count of 21 yes and 0 no and 2 abstentions, I declare, excuse me, my voice is so dried out. I declare TR 2022-74 to have passed. TR 2022-75, a tribal resolution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma approving a one-time appropriation of $2,500,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 funds to the Miccosukee Mission Water and Waste Management System. Entertain a motion to that effect.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Representative Coleman, seconded by Representative Fixico.
Chief Palmer, would you chair just for a few moments? The chair's going to leave the seat for a few moments and retain his seat when I get back.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative Petit, seen your hand.
Yes, Assistant Chief Palmer, I'd like to ask, have we ever sought the services of a civil engineer yet to help us with the plans for this? To help also in determining what things may be applicable. I know it's just water and sewer, so it's not ADA compliant that we're looking for, but to work with I respect Mr. Porter's input. You know, he's gave us a pretty good description of that. So someone could meet with the civil engineer, basically put the plans together to what we need, and then they could seek out for us contractual services or architectural services that this council needs to take, consider on how we spend some money on these things. I mean, it's a great project, but I just don't think that any of us here have enough knowledge to know what these things are going to do.
So Mr. Porter is an engineer with IHS, but we've had two studies performed, one that we presented on a similar resolution that failed. That was the last assessment that was performed. Then there was another one that was specific to the lagoons. So we've had these studies historically performed. We've just never had the appropriation passed or identified the funding in order for us to pursue correcting these issues.
Well, my concern is that once we've established what our needs are and what we want to actually do, perhaps they can coordinate with Mr. Porter to get these things done. But first off, somebody needs to bring back to this council a description of what the services will be needed, what the cost associated with it will be. And like I said, I don't think there's any of us here that can read blueprints or can okay estimates and all things like that. We need to rely on somebody that can provide us that information. And it's in the ARPA funds that we have that access to people, hiring those people that can provide those services for us. And that's just what I just think, I think our council needs to do that before we start these projects so that we have a better idea of where we're going to be, because it's going to be a long time to get some of this stuff started and going because of, we've all experienced supply problems that are going on right now. And with the tornado coming through, this area, just having the accessibility to contractors, and they're going to have an added cost because they're going to have a cost that is associated with their housing people in this area, because they may have to drive 30 miles, so they're going to tack that on to their bids. But just something so we have a better knowledge as a council, because, we said before, this is the people's money, and we need to be good stewards of that money to make sure we know what we're spending the money on. And if there's input needs to be made after we look at the designs by a civil engineer, architect, whichever one we want to hire, then we as a council can come back and add those items in. And that's just what I'm just feeling.
Yeah, and I agree with your statements, but there again, we need an appropriation to have a starting point so that we can pursue those. In accordance with ARPA, we do have to follow certain provisions with the Clean Water Act, the EPA. So there are things in place that we have to adhere to, but without the appropriation, we do not have the funding in order to pursue those studies and to bring those plans back to the General Council. Representative Dethridge.
Yes, sir. I understand such as representative's concerns, and he addressed those concerns before. And so, again, in my research on this particular issue, I called Billy Porter. I spoke with Billy Porter. He said there will be a construction engineer on site. So that's all I know is what Billy Porter says. I don't know whether he's meaning himself or whether he means somebody else, but I agree that there's nobody in this room. Now, I don't know everybody's occupation, but there's nobody in this room that can do this project, have the knowledge to do this project. But I think, and again, Billy Porter says, yes, we will have a construction engineer, overseeing this project. So that's all I know.
Yes, and that would be in accordance with EPA. And really, the big goal of this project is to add a lagoon cell. So it's more or less dirt work that is compliant. There would have to be a need to actually pump one of the cells because they're all connected. And so that would have to be evacuated. There's a lot that goes into it. But again, without an appropriation, we can't come forward with a plan that is that detailed because it is so costly. The last one that was done in 2008, 2009 cost about $200,000 for the assessment. So there again, using that plan and knowing that at this point it is worse than what it was in 2009, it's the need is there. Representative Cootie?
What about septic tank uh, versus lagoon? Which is, cheaper or more?
So looking at the type of soil that we have, if anybody has ever noticed, we have a lot of clay. And so traditionally those would have a leach field for lateral lines. And just like what we're experiencing with the Veterans Center, it did not perk out, which is why that facility doesn't have a proper sanitary wastewater management system. So it just simply wouldn't be feasible because of our land. Representative Fixco?
Brian, we don't have anybody at BPO. We don't have a director. We don't have a program. But I was in that program at one time, and I seen this lagoon, cleared off, and then they sand it out, and I watched it from the starting point to the ending point. And it took, a person with knowledge. And Mickey Douglas did a really good job. He stayed with it, and he knew the process and many things. So I wanted to commend him, but we don't have anybody with PPO anymore that has any knowledge that helped us a lot. I learned about illegal dumping on Indian lands, water qualities, air qualities. You look at many things I had was trained in. So, we do need the EPO back. And that's what I was going to recommend. Thank you.
Secretary, call roll.
Leah Simpson,
No.
Anthony Conley,
No.
John Narkemy,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Nancy Fixico, Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Leon Petit,
No.
Joseph Billy,
No.
Karen Fulbright,
Yes.
Ann Borba,
Yes.
Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Tina Yesla,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie, Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Shirley Watkins,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw, Tiffany Thomas, Catherine McCoy, Charlie Hill, Tiffany Cully, Danita Harjo, Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerton,
Yes.
I have a count of 14 yes, 7 no, 2 abstentions.
By a count of 14 yes, 7 no, 2 abstentions, I declare that measure to have passed. And I relinquish the chair to Chief Johnson.
Chairman Johnson retains the chair.
TR 2022-76, a tribal resolution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma approving a one-time appropriation of $200,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 funds to the Miccosukee Mission wastewater infrastructure project for the Seminole Nation Veterans Center. And I entertain a motion to that effect. I have a motion from Representative Bulber, seconded from Representative Coleman. And discussion. Representative Bulber, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Looking over these plans and discussing this in our band meeting, it was suggested that the septic tank be moved to the northwest corner of the building. I think that east side is the side that's facing the cemetery, and that they wanted that.
Representative Bulber, you're saying septic tank. Are you talking about the existing septic tank that's there that's not working most of the time since we got into that facility?
Yes.
Whether that your comments out of order, we're not even addressing that. We're addressing this lagoon system.
Okay, but the septic tank is going to be put to the lagoon, and then it's going to make it easier to use, make it where it doesn't back up into the building.
So currently, all we have is a holding facility. The wastewater, everything goes into that. So there's no way for that water to be evacuated through a leach field or anything like that. So it has to be pumped. There was an issue with the toilet that ran that caused that to back up into the facility. That's happened. There was 2 instances that weren't related to the cause that has caused that to happen. There's been wastewater that was exposed to the ground, exposed to our employees, and essentially it's set up like an RV. You're going to have to continually, for the life of that system, pump the wastewater out. So be proper, to be in accordance with every EPA guideline, it needs to have a way for that to be evacuated into a lagoon cell. That's what this would establish. I realize the location, it can be moved depending on what's going to be best suited as far as the terrain. Put it in an area where it's hidden, but all of those details can be ironed out during the planning process.
And although this is especially for the Seminole Nation Veterans Center, it will be also the campgrounds will be able to utilize it when we put the permanent restrooms in there. So it all actually accommodates and has a more extended use than just the Veterans Center. But the Veterans Center is up against it with the current system that was placed in a while back. Any other questions, discussion? Oh, I see your hand there, Representative Shaw. You have the floor.
Well, one of them we're looking at is that proposed lagoon. I don't have a problem with it or anything, but the thing is, it's sitting on that 20 acres that's allocated for cemetery. It's on the back side of it, I agree. But the council's gonna have to give up 2 acres, what we figured before, for us to set that lagoon system up there on that corner. Because that 20 acres has been appropriated for many, many years now for a cemetery. Not a veteran cemetery, but for the cemetery itself, for the rest of the people of the nation. So they're gonna come back on us, or
I'm sorry?
am I correct? That is that on that corner of the 20 acres?
Well, no, if it goes back that far, I'm thinking about the map.
Well,
It might touch the corner of it, maybe.
we looked at it, and we weren't looking at it as for lagoon system, but we were looking at it for we're gonna have to give up like 2 acres in order for us to put a pump system in there for uh, uh, water well. That's the way the engineer looked at it. And he said, well, we're gonna have to give up a couple acres back there, or so many 100 feet or something. He still told us that we had an engineer come down and talk to us about it. And so, it's still gonna be on that cemetery. So we'd have to give up part of the cemetery to this council, because the council allocated that cemetery for deceased. But, that's just a point of information I thought I'd bring to you. Y'all can think on it and do whatever you want. But the thing is, it's been allocated already. We're gonna have to look at that corner before we do anything else with it. And, my band said, yes, go ahead and vote for this, but in good conscience, I cannot vote for it because that corner still belongs, because we'd be breaking our own law by putting it in there. So, like I said, it's point of information. Y'all do what you want.
I would highly recommend that, the council uh, relook at that area for a cemetery because of the amount of money and dirt that you have to move just to get it to be flat. Whenever that was being determined, my lands, the type of work you have to do to get it, there's no church that has a cemetery that put the kind of money that we would have to put in there just to get it where you could drive through it and have your lanes and then do all your plots. It's not even feasible, that terrain for a cemetery. I don't think the council needs to come back at some point and we need to identify a different piece of parcel of land for a tribal cemetery where it won't take that much work to be able to get it to the point where you can actually intern somebody there. But anyway, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Secretary?
Leota Sampson,
No.
Anthony Conley,
No.
John Narcome,
Yes.
Rena Tiger,
Yes.
Nancy Pixipo,
Yes.
Ida Gonzalez,
Yes.
Leon Petit,
Yes.
Joseph Billy, Karen Fulbright, Ann Borba, Stephanie Lambert,
Yes.
Tina Yesla,
Yes.
Lottie Cootie, Ella Coleman,
Yes.
Shirley Watkins,
Yes.
Wayne Shaw,
No.
Tiffany Thomas, Catherine McCoy, Charlie Hill,
No.
Tiffany Cully, Danita Harjo, Willis Dethridge,
Yes.
Desiree Emerton,
Yes.
I have a count of 14 yes, 7 no, 2 abstentions.
With a count of 14 yes and 7 no and 2 abstentions, I declare TR 2022-76 to have passed. Now we're going back to the original unfinished business where we had gone out of order of the agenda to listen to the auditor. So we're back on unfinished business. This is the original TR 2022-63 that was sponsored by Representative Fulbright. It was tabled. It comes off the floor today. Comes off the table.
I'd like to reintroduce Tribal Resolution PR 22-63. A tribal resolution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma approving a one-time distribution from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 of $500 to each eligible tribal member for the purpose of household assistance
in accordance with the state local fiscal recovery funds final rule. That's for second.
There's a motion by Representative Fulbright, seconded by Representative Borba. This is another distribution to the tribal membership. Do you want the whole resolution read for the sake of the folks that are here today outside of the council? You got that? You got that with you? I can read it from the microphone if you want.
It don't matter.
Yeah, bring it if you would. So that the gallery can hear. Besides the actual motion, I'm going to read the whereases. Be it resolved by the Seminole Nation Council assembled, whereas Article 5 of the Seminole Nation Constitution empowers the General Council of the Seminole Nation to promote public health, education, charity, and such other services that may contribute to the social and economic advancement of the members of the Seminole Nation. And the COVID-19, whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has created financial hardships to the disproportionately impacted Seminole Nation tribal members, causing an increased need for financial household assistance. And whereas the Seminole Nation has received funds from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, and whereas the SLFRF final rule allows for reasonable proportional responses to the COVID-19 pandemic, which includes financial household assistance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the General Council of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma hereby approves the FY23 ARPA Household Assistance Program for the purpose of financial household assistance for eligible tribal members and to begin distribution on October 3rd, 2022. And further resolve, the General Council directs the Executive Office to administer the FY23 ARPA Household Assistance Program in accordance with the SLFRF final rule and to allow tribal members to apply for a one-time distribution of $500 each. Further resolve, tribal members shall be considered eligible for the purposes of receiving the one-time distribution of $500 so long as the tribal member was born on or before September 4th, 2021, enacted by the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma General Council on this, this is incorrect on your sheet anyway, on this 28th day of June, 2022. But that's how it was on the, before it got tabled. It had come to the quarterly meeting first. So that's the bill that's before you today. Representative Sampson.
Now, I'll ask a question because I wanted it on the record. I would like to know if the freedmen are included in this since we are citizens, cardholders of this tribe.
It doesn't say one
No,
way.
I'm asking you the question, Chief.
The resolution doesn't say one way or the other.
So we are classified.
It says members though. It does say members.
So you're saying no to the freedmen, right?
No, I'm not saying no.
Well, your resolution is saying no, right?
I don't believe the resolution's saying no. It's
Well,
not.
No, don't
It's,
play with words.
it's not clarified in the resolution the way that it's written.
Okay, so you're not gonna give this to the freedmen that are citizens and cardholders of this tribe, based on that resolution?
That you can bring it up in discussion right now. We're in discussion.
That's why I'm bringing the question to you.
Or cause a friendly amendment or something.
Friendly amendment.
It dates back to the original resolution that was passed on, I think, September the 4th,
I
2021.
remember that resolution.
Yeah.
I'm asking a question.
And that's not an executive, that is not.
Can we ask the AG?
That's actually a council determination. It's neither the.
This is federal money, right? Right?
Is it federal money?
Yes.
It came from the American Rescue Plan Act.
Federal money.
I mean, you're doing it for the record. I think you're doing it for the camera now.
No, I'm not doing nothing to the camera. I'm asking for our people. That's what they're asking for. They live among you, with you, and they're part of this. I'm asking for the people.
Well, I don't think the attorney can answer for the general counsel of
Can I
the Seminole
get
Nation.
get the general counsel attorney?
AG. Yeah.
To tell me, where is it written that the freedman is not a part of this tribe? We're citizens.
As far as so the general counsel is your supreme legislative body. The attorney general office does not write that law, to my knowledge.
So you don't have an opinion about the freedmen and the Seminole? Are you saying we're just here?
I don't have I don't have enough information to answer the question at the moment.
Could you get that information, please?
At a request of the general counsel that we can look at that, yes.
For the council, I am the general counsel.
That is something our office can look into, yes.
I think it's a fair question for the freedmen bands to ask what they're asking. Although he can't answer it because he got to do further research, I suppose. I saw Representative Cootie's hand. Do you yield the floor, Representative Sampson? You might need to stand to be able to retain the floor. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's part of the Title 16 as well.
Not a problem. I do apologize for that then. My reason for asking is because our people are suffering just as well as this nation, and we belong to the nation. We vote, we sit here and we do bills, and we do things that for the tribe that we have no part in because you guys decide not to allow it. For one word, freedom. But we're in the Constitution. We're in the treaty. Why are we ignoring that as a people?
Are you asking for a friendly amendment to this resolution?
You want me to ask for a friendly amendment? Yeah, I'll ask for a friendly amendment. That the freedmen be included because we are part of this nation as well.
Okay, there's a friendly amendment. Who gave the original
Karen.
motion? Do you accept that friendly amendment? The only reason I say that as a chair because we had two measures that passed at the September 4th meeting.
Right.
And
Well, I mean, are we talking about just this particular resolution, Representative Sampson?
it would have to be because there was a
Because there's,
specific,
I mean, we're not discussing any other
there was a
resolution. except
specific
that-
resolution on
Right.
the other one that actually
Specified.
voted not to.
Mhm.
You just said that this came from that. This was
The
birthed out of
date,
that.
the date came from that. The date of the eligible membership.
Because we
September
tabled
4th.
it the last time.
I remember.
Those dates were.
I
that's the
remember
date
that
on
as
there.
well. I remember.
That's why that last whereas said September 4th, 2021.
Yes.
And that was dealing with another resolution. It wasn't dealing with this resolution. When the second resolution came up and it failed, we all remember that, right? And
You know, I think we need to get this out once and for all. We've been dancing around this for many years. You know, you can accept the amendment or not, this resolution. If you don't pass it, it'll affect all of our tribal members. You vote no. Getting another $500, which I know a lot of them could really use. And then again, we're dealing with our money, you know, of who's entitled. You know, the numbers on this
money comes from employees, correct?
That's one part of the component of
One
the
part of the
formula.
component. This council was considered employees. So the freedmen, I guess, would be considered employees. So they were included in that count, correct?
I can't vouch whether the council was included in that particular account. I'm going to say they probably weren't. When you get directly using numbers, it was probably the employees that were actually of the Seminole Nation and not necessarily by tribal code. Now, I will say this once and for all, could we have used the freedmen's numbers when that went for the certified enrollment numbers? Now, I'm not saying citizen, I'm not saying member, I'm not saying either one of those two things. But could have we used those figures, and would we have received more money for the both the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan Act? The answer is yes, we would have. But those figures were not used at that particular time. We've discussed all that.
We've discussed it.
But one thing that we do know,
We discussed it, but it was.
yeah, this is one thing that we do know, that these were not trust funds.
Yes.
These were not general revenue funds, but these were funds because of a very deadly disease that was rampant across this country and around the world. And there's not one human being, regardless of race, creed, or color, that wasn't affected by this COVID. So, but the numbers weren't used when they were submitted to the federal government. And had they been used, I don't think the council would have had any objection at all when we went to vote back in September. It's up to the council. It's not up to executive. And it's not up to the Attorney General to give some kind of opinion or memorandum.
I'm going to accept the amendment and we'll vote on it and go from there. If it doesn't pass with this amendment, can we go back to the original and maybe the freedmen can come forward with a separate resolution to?
I think we've got to deal with the resolution that's ahead of us. The General Counsel already voted not to, pertaining to that last resolution, so we can't go back to that, okay?
Was it the ARPA?
Yes, it was ARPA.
I couldn't remember if it was.
Yes, it was the first measure this administration passed on September 4th and brought before this council. And we also.
I accept the amendment. Let's
Okay,
vote.
is it a second? Is it accepted by the second?
I'll second it.
Okay, now this is what I see. This is what I see, okay? I see Representative Cootie, then I see Representative Narkamy. I see. You would have been second. Okay, I'll go with that since there's more eyes than just mine here. Representative Cootie, Representative Hill, Representative Narkamy, okay? Representative Gonzalez, in that order.
Chief, about how much money do we have left from?
Well, before tonight, there was about $27 million. So you subtract what was done tonight from that, and then let's do the math real quick here. No, not 8 million. She started talking about how much we have and how much with the approved measures, how much we have. How much will be total? Yeah, we don't include this right now.
Echo.
Okay. Approximately a 23.5 million, I believe, is what we would have after the passing of legislation tonight. It started at about 27 million. And after the passage of legislation tonight, not including this measure that's before you,
One of the things that the people are asking me, and they're saying that 500 is to your council representatives, that's a lot. And you say you either accept it or you don't. But we have elders out there that are raising grandchildren, and the price of food has gone up, gases have gone up. You know, I feel bad for those people that has to take care of their grandchildren. So I know that no, in Thanksgiving time, when I hand out the baskets and everything, our tribal members are very grateful for what they get. And I'm a year, I wish I could do more, but I can't. But just to say that that 500 is a lot for some of us that can eat 3 meals a day. We have tribal members out there that can't afford it. So just think about it. You have food on your table every meal. So you think that people out there don't really need it? Just 500 is all they can get? I feel bad for our tribal members. We're here, we're talking about representing our people, we're going to do this for them. But then when it comes to something like this, we're just saying, you just get 500. That's all we can afford to give you. But we are giving out a lot of millions of dollars for infrastructure. Let's think about our tribal members. They are the one that put you in this position as council representative, and they're the one that put chief in position and the assistant chief. We promised to serve them, and we're not doing it.
I think as far as the final rule, and when we say SLFRF, final rule, there's guidelines there. And I can read inserts from that guidelines why that figure was brought
I'm
up.
sure there is guidelines, but there's a lot of guidelines that we have. We have regulations, we have laws and everything. How many times have we broken the laws? How many
We
times
can't do
have
it on
we
this one.
enforced? So
We
I'm just
report
saying
every
the
penny to the
people out
United
there
States
need
Treasurer.
our help. So for me, I would just like to make a motion to just table this until we decide what we're going to do other than $500.
I don't know how much simpler that we can put it. And it's in the final rule. And what you, Representative McCoy, what'd you say? Oh, okay. Okay, there's a motion and,
Why are we tabling it? Because
all the information, we can't really discuss anything on the table, okay? We know the information's out there. We know that there's regulations. We know that there's a disproportionately impacted area. We're trying to squeeze something out of something that's not there. Or we could get, we're just trying to say, the United States government only gave out $1,400, folks, okay? And part of the final rule states that. I'm not going to say any more because this is a tabled item. We're going to go to the table. Okay. Now, there's a motion and a second on the table. There's no discussion. So we got to go to the table. Leave it on the floor. You vote against the table. And we can discuss it some more. So, Secretary, this is a motion to table.
Leota Sampson,
No.
Anthony Conley,
No.
John Narcome,
No.
Rena Tiger. No. Nancy Fixico,
No.
Ida Gonzalez,
No.
Leon Petit,
No.
Joseph Billy. Karen Fulbright. No. Ann Borba. Stephanie Lambert.
Yes.
Lena Yesla.
Yes.
Lottie Cootie. Yes. Ella Coleman.
No.
Shirley Watkins.
No.
Wayne Shaw.
Yes.
Tiffany Thomas. Catherine McCoy. Charlie Hill. Tiffany Cully.
Anita Harjo. Yes. Willis Dethridge.
Yes.
Desiree Emerton.
Yes.
I have a count of 12 yes, 11 no, 0 abstention.
It was a count of 12 yes, 11 no, 0 abstentions. That has failed. Uh, that, uh, Actually, that has passed as far as the table, okay? Um, I think it's already on the portal, that we would advise the council to read the inserts of the final rule that the executive office sent out. You cannot squeeze anything out of something, even though you want or desire or whatever the thing is. We're not leading you down the wrong road. We're the one that brought the resolution. My lands. Okay. Representative Hill, then Representative Petit. He has his hand up. Representative Narkin, did you still want to talk? Okay, after Representative Hill. Okay.
Okay. Oh, can you hear me? Mr. Chair, this is for the attorney, okay? All you people with a lot of intelligence, okay, sit here tonight and say, y'all ain't gonna make the decision to say yes or no pertaining to young lady's request about $500 or whatever, ARPA money. Freeman, you know, this is for everyone to hear now. Quote me what I'm about to say. Some of y'all going to take it wrong. Some of you guys going to take it like, oh my gosh, what did he say that? Going back to her question, this is mainly for you, the attorney, okay? She indicated about us for travel, you know, for citizens with CARES card, etc. When you go back to September 4th of last year, everybody received $2,000 because of the resolution that was made, I believe, by Ms. Fulbright. However, the resolution did not have one-time distribution, okay? It was still left open. And there was ARPA money that the people got paid with, okay? Now, tonight, we sit here, coming back $500 to every tribal member from the ARPA money, right? If, in fact, the Freedmen's resolution or whatever they put in, and it's approved for them to get $500, okay? ARPA money, can't they go back to September 4th and be allotted, granted, the $2,000 that were not paid to them? Because there's really no stipulations. You understand where I'm coming from? If we agree to it, or council approves of it, they have a right to go back and ask for, how come we didn't get paid $2,000 if they get paid $500?
No, because there was another resolution that came after that.
But the resolution, the first one, is still open.
No, it's not. It's not still open. The Attorney General gave you the answer to that already.
But the first resolution never said this is a one-time only. So that's still wide open. Am I right or wrong?
Do you have Valerie's response? She already gave a written response to that.
I believe Valerie did give a response to that. If you give me a minute, I believe I can find it. She took that issue up on an advisement.
I'm just throwing a question out, okay, for the people. That's what you know, I'm not crying about $500 or $2,000. It's a question that needs to be answered.
In terms of the open statement regarding that resolution, if it's okay with you, I would ask that Valerie redistribute that answer to the entire general council, because I believe that's been addressed and answered. Absolutely.
And that has already been answered. Representative Narkman, were you going to say something? And I know you had your hand up earlier. Then Representative Petit, you'll be right after Representative
Okay.
Narkman.
Just a simple question. On a tabled item, well, we should vote on it as is without amendments because, I mean, that's, otherwise, if we're going to amend the tabled item, we should just withdraw the resolution itself and resubmit. Is that not correct?
No, because what happened is when she accepted that amendment in the manner that it was, and it became a part of the original motion at that time, that she accepted it. So in fact,
And it's,
what's that?
I said, we've tried that in the past of having tabled items amended, and even the sponsor agreed to it. And it still was told to us that we could not amend the tabled item.
No, she accepted that amendment by Representative Sampson, and it became a part of her original motion at that point.
Okay.
So when the motion went to table, it tabled that whole section. The original resolution that the bands had seen of $500 to every member, and then the friendly amendment that was attached to it because it was accepted by the sponsor. That's correct. That's how the chair sees it, how I remember it for the last 30 years. Okay, Representative Petit.
First off, Chair,
We could the first time.
okay, here you go. Okay. First off, now that the item's been tabled, we no longer can discuss that resolution, correct?
Yeah, we're not, that particular resolution, I think Representative Hill was discussing a resolution from September 4th.
Okay, but I mean, the current one tonight,
No.
63, that's no longer able for discussion? Okay, well, I just had some points of information I wanted the council to consider and some additional information, so.
You can send it to them.
I can send those to them and the Attorney General in your office also?
You send it to me if you want.
Okay, well, as soon as I get a laptop, I will be more than happy to send these questions to you. Because I think there are things that we need to consider as we attempt to approach this distribution of additional funds. And I just want, and that's what I'm going to stop at right there because I don't need to discuss it any further. It's just things I want
the council, if I can ask the council is to read, okay? Read. Don't just say this person, that person. I want. Read, okay? Because if you don't read, you will continue down a road that most likely it's going to be out of order.
Okay.
Okay. Most likely it's going to be out of order, and I'll quote federal law pertaining to that.
Okay. Well, like I said, that's all I want to do is just
Okay.
some things that
I know we've
consider.
gone pretty lengthily already, and we've gone through the agenda. But if you have some information, just send it out. Appreciate it, Representative Petit. Representative Fulbright, and then we've gone through the. Okay, motion to adjourn, seconded. We went through the. I'm gonna. Is it an announcement? Okay, I want to make an announcement too, because we are adjourned, but let's dismiss in prayer, okay? We did receive an offer for the Griswold Mansion of $1 million. It was related at Band Chief's meeting. Now, there's a standing resolution for the executive office to negotiate on the Griswold Mansion. The last time this council addressed this issue, they voted down a 1.3 offer. So the 1 million offer would also be germane to the last actions of the council. So if we can't get more than 1.3 out of it, yeah. Yeah, but we're not going to talk about that tonight because it's not on agenda and this is a special call meeting. Also, I want to thank the council for their cooperation with some of the things that, was brought before the council for the broadband. We got notified Friday that the nation will be receiving that $13 million and hopefully within 18 months, we'll all have the highest speed broadband on the Seminole Reservation. And it's fiber optics too. It's not wireless. So that's the good kind. Wayne?
We do have a group here from the Carter Real Estate that wants to make the presentation to the council. Why?
No, it's not because I don't want. I just made that announcement so that the council can be thinking about when we put it on the agenda for the next meeting. It's not on the agenda, and we have a motion to adjourn in a second as well. Now I'm going to ask. But then what I would suggest to you two council representatives is go sit over there with Carter Real Estate and talk about it. And I'll put it on the agenda at the next council meeting, and then we can talk openly about it. So it will be on the next agenda though, so we can all discuss it at that point. Representative Etheridge dismisses in prayer.
I have a thank you God for this evening's great debate. And I just ask you God to just continue to watch over us, keep us safe as we travel home. I thank you again, Lord, for the things that you do for us. And I just ask you all these blessings. In Christ's name, amen.